Hi dear. So in last class we have seen this respiration in plants, right? The second life processes, respiration, right? So respiration, uh, that respiration is nothing but obtaining energy, right? Obtaining energy by combining the glucose and oxygen, right? Oxygen is must, right? So from where this oxygen the animals are getting, from where the oxygen is taken. So in the terrestrial animals, that is living in land, the animals get the oxygen from the atmosphere. You know that in atmosphere there are 21 percentage of oxygen is present, right, by volume. From where this aquatic animals get the oxygen which is dissolved in water. Oxygen will be dissolved in water. From the from the water it will take the oxygen, right? So you know that since it is a multicellular organ means each and every organ is specified for a specific function. Okay, so there are some respiratory organs in each animals to respire, right? So in we are seeing in the lower classes that um, the small insects like cockroach which respire through the spiracles, that is small openings in the sides of the body, right? So if this is a cockroach means you will have some spiracles in the sides of the body, right? And this leeches, uh, worms and all breathe through the skin, moist skin. Okay, this frog will breathe through the skin as well as through the lungs, right? So the animals or insects use the different parts to different organs to do the respiration process. Okay, likewise in fish it uses the gills to respire. Okay, gills to respire. First we'll see in detail this the respiration in fish. Okay, and then we'll move to the animals, that is respiration in human. It's similar, it's similar in both human beings and animals. Okay, both are respired through the lungs. Okay, respiration in fish dissolved first from where this aquatic animals are getting, it will get the oxygen from the water, right? It is because oxygen is dissolved in water, right? So but little amount of oxygen only dissolved in water. Okay, it will not get sufficient oxygen. How we are getting from the atmosphere, it is not sufficient in water. So what it will do, it will breathe fast to get the sufficient oxygen. Okay, the dissolved oxygen is very less in water when compared with the oxygen present in the atmosphere. So what fish will do, this it increases the breathing rate. So the breathing rate of the aquatic animals are faster, which is it breathe up to a minimum of 66 times in a minute to 120 times a minute. Okay, it differs depending upon the fish also. Okay, so how the breathing is taking place means, if you see the fish, it will always open the mouth and open the mouth and it will close like that, right? Open and close it will be always, if you look into close. Okay, so the water first, it will take the water through the mouth. Okay, the fish will take the water through the mouth and passes the water through the gills. If you see the fish, you can see the gills. An arrangement is that this is operculum. Inside that you will have gills, like gills. It will be in a reddish dark brown like structures. Hair like structures will have. It's look like a even comb. Even you can see that it looks like a comb. This is called a gill, right? So it opened the mouth and water enters this and pass through this gills. Okay, these gills are rich in blood capillaries. Okay, you can see this red capillaries in that, and this red capillaries absorbs the oxygen and it will be taken to the cell. Okay, and the oxygen carbon dioxide produced will come back and will be removed removed through the gills. So it takes the water through the mouth and pass the water through the gills. Okay, the gills absorb the dissolved oxygen. The gills absorb the dissolved oxygen. Why? The gills are rich in blood capillaries, okay, blood vessels, and release carbon dioxide through the gills after the respiration process is over. Okay. So this is how the fish's respiration is taking place in the fish. Okay, first the water enters the mouth through mouth and it passes through the gills. While the water is entering, this operculum will be closed, and once it is closed, it will be forced to pass through the gills. While passing through, the oxygen present in the water will be absorbed by the blood capillaries, and then remaining water will be passed out this operculum, okay, through the gills. Okay. So it will breathe faster at the rate of 66 times per minute to 120 times per minute. Okay. Whereas in respiratory system in the healthy adult at rest, what is the rate of the breathing means 12 to 18 breaths per minute. That means one breath means one exhale and inhale and exhale, it includes one breath. Okay, 12 to 18 times per minute. While we are doing exercise and all, the breathing rate will be increases. Okay, so it increases up to 25 breaths per minute. Okay, clear on this? Now we will see how this respiration is taking place in the human being, right? Okay, please bear with me. This is the respiratory system diagram. Okay, so you know that through the nose only we'll be taking the air, right? For air is enters our body through the nose, and you are having a nose, two nostrils in that, right? Two nostrils in that, and air enters this nostrils, and you will have some fine hairs. You will have some fine hairs and mucus in that. This hair helps to filter the air. Any dust particles or anything is there means here it will be filtered, and pure air will be entered through the nasal passage. This is a nasal passage. Okay. A bony plate in the upper part of the mouth, you will have a plate like structure. Bone will be there. That is a bony palate. It is present here, and this air enters through the nostrils, will pass through the nasal passage, and it enters the pharynx. Pharynx, where the this mouth the material food material from the mouth and the air from the nostrils meet here. Okay, this is the throat portion, where below that you will having a larynx, that is your sound box, vocal cord. Okay, and from the nasal passage through the throat, it enters the lungs through the windpipe. Windpipe is nothing but your trachea. Okay, it is technically it is called as trachea. Okay, this trachea is surrounded by the rings of cartilage. Rings of cartilage. You can see this cartilage. You can see the cartilage tissue in the ears. It is very strong, but it is a flexible tissue. You can bend your ears like. This is a windpipe, and this windpipe is divided into divided into two branches and enter the two lungs, right? Right and left. So left is always when compared to the right lungs, left lung is slightly smaller to accommodate the heart here, right? Okay, so this trachea. So since it is a very soft part, to absorb more oxygen, the surface area of this lungs will be more. Okay, and since it is it is used for the absorption of gases, it is very fine and delicate, so it has to be protected. Okay, right? So it is kept inside the body, and it is covered by a rib cage. Okay, this is a rib cage. எலும்பு கூடு மாதிரி இருக்கு சொல்றாங்க, that is a rib cage. Okay, this is a rib cage. And this cavity, inside this cavity, inside the rib cage, the cavity where the lungs is placed, right, present, right, that is called thoracic cavity or chest cavity. Okay, here your lungs is present, and below that you will have a diaphragm. This is a large muscular thing which separates the lungs from the this digestive system, right? It is present between the lungs and the digestive system, that is the stomach. Okay, this is your diaphragm. Okay, you can see this part, this from windpipe to this two branches. No, it will be like this. You can see this is your trachea, and this trachea is divided into two branches and entering the two lungs. Okay, this small branch is called bronchi. What are these two are two bronchi. Okay, these two are two bronchi. In plural we'll say bronchi, and singular it is bronchus. This is one bronchus, this is one bronchus. Okay, and this bronchus is further divided into small tubules, which is called bronchioles. What is this? This bronchi is further divided into small tube like structure, which is called bronchioles. Okay, bronchioles. Okay, and this bronchioles end up with the alveoli. Okay, it is a bag like structure. Okay, in the bag like structure, and the walls are attached with the blood capillaries. Okay, alveoli. So the trachea is divided into further two small parts, that is your bronchi, and bronchi is further divided into small branches, which is called bronchioles, and the bronchioles are end up with the alveoli. Okay, in singular it is called alveolus. Okay, clear on this? Okay, from here the oxygen carried by the blood vessels to each and every part of the cell, and in each and every part of the cells, what is the reaction taking place? In the cells already glucose are present. Glucose is present. Glucose plus O2 gives your CO2 plus H2O plus energy. Energy is displaced by the body, and the CO2 again will comes out through the same path. Okay, through the same path. Okay, the water will be comes out as a water vapor. Clear? We'll see in detail. So first air is drawn through the nostrils present in the nose. Okay, and it enters the nasal passage, then pharynx, and this larynx, and then trachea to bronchi, bronchi to bronchioles, and then to alveoli. In the alveoli it is rich in blood vessels, and it is carried by this blood vessels. In this RBC, red blood corpuscles having a pigment called hemoglobin, right? This the oxygen is carried by the hemoglobin and to the cells. Okay, where the aerobic respiration taking place, and your glucose plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide plus water plus energy, and this carbon dioxide formed is again returned to the comes out of the nostrils through the same way, CO2. Then it is moved in the blood vessels, and it enters alveoli, and then to the bronchioles, and then bronchi, trachea, larynx, pharynx, nasal passage, and through the nostrils it come out. Okay, clear on this? Okay, so while we are inhaling and exhaling, once we exhale the all oxygen, carbon dioxide, what happens at that minute? Nothing will be there in the lungs. Do you think nothing will be there in the lungs? No, some portion of a residue, for the emergency purpose, like that we will keep something for our emergency purpose. No, always. Likewise, a residual volume of air will be present in the lungs always. Residual volume, that means it is the amount of air that remains in a person's lung after fully exhaling to keep the lungs from collapsing. If nothing is there, means it will be collapsed, right? Air is not there, means it will be totally collapsed. Okay, to avoid that, always some residual volume of air, that is oxygen, is present in the lungs. That is called residual volume of air. What is the purpose of residual volume? To prevent the lungs from collapsing. It is always present in the person's lungs. Okay, clear? Okay, you may think how this air enters our body, right? So in the lower classes you have studied all this thing. We'll have a when air is drawn in, okay, what happens actually means, this diaphragm, no, long, thick muscular thing, right? Diaphragm, while air enters, it moves down. Okay, if you can feel this, you can even see this person's your stomach will be moved up and down when we breathe in and breathe out, when we close watch when you watch closely. Okay, so when the air is drawn inside, what will happen? The diaphragm will move down and become flattened. So it will be like this, and when the air is entered through this, it will move down the diaphragm. The diaphragm will move down and it becomes flat, and the ribs will be slightly moves upward and outwards. It will move upward. That means it is expanding. While air enters, it is expanding. Okay, and then once the air is forced out, you can see the difference between these things. So it is somewhat it is expanded, it is shrink, right? So the diaphragm moves back to this position, and the ribs moves downwards and inwards. Okay, when air is forced out, right? When the air is drawn in, the diaphragm will moves down and become flattened, and the ribs will be moves up and outwards. Okay, likewise when air forced out, the diaphragm moves up back. That means the diaphragm moves upward to its position, and the ribs moves downward and inwards. You can see the difference. It is expanded and it is shrinking. Okay, so I hope you are clear with this, and we'll go for a quick recap in that. Okay, that is human respiratory system. What is that? Oxygen rich air is taken into the body through the nose. The air is filtered by fine hair present in the nose. I forgot to mention this hair as well as mucus. Mucus in that will filter the air, right? From the nose, air passes through the throat to the lungs. Okay, in the lungs, what is happening? The air passage divided into smaller, that is what, bronchi, right? And smaller tubules, that is bronchioles, and finally reach the alveoli. The smaller one is your bronchi, and this smaller tubes is your bronchioles, and finally reach a alveoli. That is a bag like structure. Okay, so what is happening in the alveoli? It is a balloon like structure which is provide a surface for exchange of gases. The walls of the alveoli connect with the blood vessels. Okay, from the blood vessels, the oxygen is carried to the all parts of the body. Okay, and respiration is taking place. Next, what percentage of oxygen is present in air that we breathe? So the air that we breathe in, that is during inhalation, oxygen 21% of oxygen is present, and it carries and it has carbon dioxide percentage is 0.04%, and water vapor is very little. Okay, little amount of water vapor is present in that. When we breathe out, that is during the exhalation, how much percentage of oxygen is released? Oxygen is 16.4%. Okay, 16.4% oxygen is released, and carbon dioxide is 4.4%, and water vapor is more when compared to the inhalation of the air. Okay, why? Because during this respiration process, you know that, right? Glucose, when reacts with oxygen, gives carbon dioxide, water plus energy, right? The water comes out in the form of a water vapor. That's why the water vapor is more when in the breathe out air, right? During the exhalation, right? Okay, next. Already we have discussed about this, why respiratory organs are placed within the body, right? The respiratory organs have a structure that increases the surface area which is in contact with the oxygen rich atmosphere. Only if the surface area is more, the oxygen will be absorbed, right? Absorbed, and it will be carried to all parts of the body. Since the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide has to take place across this surface is very fine and delicate. Hence, in order to protect the surface, it is usually placed inside the body. Okay, we are telling that it is exchange of gases taking place. That is, oxygen is taking in and carbon dioxide. By what mechanism it is taking place? You know this in the nutrition part. We have studied that how the food is moved from mouth to this to the anus. It every time it is moved through the peristaltic movement, that is alternate contraction and expansion, right? Likewise, Here the gases are exchanged by a mechanism called diffusion. What is mean by diffusion? What is mean by diffusion? Diffusion means nothing but movement of the things from higher concentration to lower concentration. Okay, what is the mechanism of gas exchange taking place here? Gas exchange occurs by diffusion across cell membranes. Okay, gas molecules move from area of higher concentration to the area of lower concentration. Okay, if for example can imagine like this. This is more concentrated oxygen place. It is a membrane like structure. Cell, imagine that this is a cell membrane. Okay, only less oxygen are present. So by diffusion, this moves from higher concentration to lower concentration. Okay, this is a diffusion process. So by what mechanism gas are exchanged here? By diffusion process. Do you think there's only this diffusion? See how it has to move from this higher concentration to lower concentration. How much time it will take? Is it this, by this method it is entering, means will it enter all the parts of the cell, parts of the body? No, it is not possible. It's very difficult, right? Is diffusion pressure alone enough to carry the oxygen to all parts of the body? No, definitely it is not, because its size of the body is very large, right? It by diffusion, by difference in pressure, it will not be able to take the oxygen to all parts of the body. Some other sources are needed, like for example, how this normal breathing oxygen, it's not enough while we are doing exercise. We need more energy, right? So what will happen? Our muscle cells will respire and will get some energy, right? Likewise, some support is required, right? So that is given by a pigment, that is hemoglobin, respiratory pigment present in our body. Okay, so when the body size of the animals are large, the diffusion pressure alone cannot take care of oxygen delivery to all parts of the body. Hence, the respiratory pigment, that is your hemoglobin, this is very important. Hemoglobin, which has the very high affinity for oxygen, it easily absorbs the oxygen. It will be attached to the oxygen. Okay, and this respiratory pigment takes up oxygen and carry to all parts of the body. Okay, this only by diffusion, if the oxygen is moving to every part, means it will take long time. How much long means you will not even imagine that. Means it will take 3 years to reach our toes. Okay, it is estimated that it would take 3 years for a molecule of oxygen to get to one toes from our lungs by diffusion process. If it is moving only by diffusion process, means it will take 3 years to reach our toes from lungs. Okay, so which helps in carrying the oxygen to all parts of the body? This hemoglobin, right? And one more thing I forgot to say, this respiratory organs increases the surface. I told, no, this surface. If you we said the lungs, in the lungs everything end up in the alveoli, right? In the bag like structure, alveoli, right? If you open this surface, if you spread out this alveoli, it covers the area of almost 80 meters square. Okay, that much area is folded in that, right? Okay, so to protect that, it is always kept inside that body. Okay, this is the area of the alveoli when you spread out this. Okay, next, so one more thing, this rings of cartilage. Okay, rings of cartilage. What is the role of rings of cartilage? That pipe trachea is not enough. Why the rings of cartilage is present around this trachea? What is this work there? While air is not moving, passing through them, definitely if the air is not there, then the trachea will collapse, right? To avoid that, rings of cartilage are present. Okay, rings of cartilage prevents windpipe from collapsing in any situation, that is when air is not passing through them. It is a strong and flexible tissue. You can see this here in air pinna, right? In air you will have a cartilage tissue. Okay, it is strong but it is flexible. You can bend your ears, no, like that, right? So this is the role of the rings of cartilage. So I hope you are thorough with this. Okay, I'll go for a quick recap. That air enters through the nostrils present in there, and here with the help of this mucus and the fine hair present here, it is getting filtered and enter the nasal passage, and it enters the pharynx and then to the larynx and to the windpipe, that is your trachea. It is this trachea is protected by the rings of cartilage to that is even if the air is not passed through them, it will not collapse, it will be in a stable position. Okay, and then this windpipe is further divided into small branches and enter the two lungs. This is called your bronchi, and this bronchi is further divided into bronchioles, small branches, and end up in the alveoli. Okay, where this alveoli is filled with attached with this walls of the alveolus are attached with this blood capillaries, from where through the diffusion process and also through the hemoglobin, this oxygen is carried to each and every part of the cell, and in the cell the respiration process is taking place. Once it is over, this oxygen will be carbon dioxide will be formed, and again it is taken back to the alveoli and removed through the same path. That is, from alveoli it enters the bronchioles, from bronchioles it enters the bronchi, and to the trachea through the larynx, pharynx and nasal passage, and through the nostrils it comes out. Okay, when the air is drawn inside, you know that the diaphragm will be moves down and it become flattened. The ribs will be moves upward and outwards. Okay, when the air is forced out, then that is carbon dioxide is forced out, this diaphragm will back to its position, moves upward, and the ribs will come inward, it will be shrink, right? Okay, and then one more thing, this lung is covered with a thin muscular thing like structure, that is called pleura. Okay, it is covered by a thin skin like structure called pleura. That's all with this respiration in human beings. I hope you understand that. Thank you.